You won't believe what happened when a group of fake HOA cops tried to arrest me right outside my own house, but before they could even finish their scam, real SWAT rolled up behind them and everything went absolutely insane. Make sure you subscribe because stories like this only get crazier from here, and you don't want to miss what happens next. It all started on a Saturday morning when I was finally getting a chance to relax after a brutal work week, coffee steaming in my mug, the smell of fresh toast drifting through the kitchen, and my playlist humming in the background when a loud pounding rattled my front door. Not the normal knock of a neighbor but a sharp, aggressive thud that made me freeze mid-sip, and when I peeked through the blinds I saw 3 men standing in front of my porch wearing dark uniforms that at first glance looked official, black polo shirts with embroidered patches on the chest, tactical boots, and belts weighed down with radios and handcuffs, though something about them felt off right away. Maybe it was how their patches didn't match, maybe it was how their sunglasses seemed like cheap gas station knockoffs, or maybe it was just the way they stood, too stiff, like actors trying too hard to play a role. And as soon as I opened the door one of them barked, "Sir, step outside, you're in violation of your HOA and we're here to take you in," which instantly made no sense because homeowners associations don't send police to arrest people. They send passive-aggressive letters about lawn height or trash cans. But these guys were trying to play it like they were law enforcement, flashing plastic-looking badges that caught the sunlight but didn't have any department name on them, just a generic eagle logo. And my first instinct was to laugh because the absurdity was almost cartoonish, but then I noticed 2 of them resting their hands near their holsters, and whether those guns were real or airsoft I couldn't yet tell, and that's when the pit in my stomach told me this wasn't a prank. These guys were serious about whatever scam they were pulling, so I kept my voice steady and asked them for credentials, a warrant, or at least an explanation of what crime I was supposed to have committed, and the tallest one stepped closer, his jaw clenched, sweat beading under his hat as he said, "You've been warned about violations, unapproved paint color, illegal modifications to your fence, and failure to comply with HOA regulations, and now we're escalating this matter," which almost made me choke because my house didn't even belong to an HOA, there wasn't one in my neighborhood, and before I could correct him he added, "You can make this easy or we can cuff you right here in front of your neighbors," and sure enough I saw Mrs. Dawson across the street pretending to water her plants while staring at the scene, phone in hand, probably already dialing the gossip chain. But then things took a darker turn because the second guy pulled out a zip tie and stretched it like he was ready to bind my wrists, and that's when my instincts screamed to stall, to buy time. So I said, "Look, I've got security cameras on every angle of this house, all streaming live, so if you want to embarrass yourselves, keep going." And for a split second I saw hesitation flicker in his eyes, but the leader snapped, "We're authorized, we've got jurisdiction," which again was nonsense. And then the third one, the quiet one with a scar running across his cheek, muttered, "Let's just grab him," and started stepping onto my porch. But just as my heart rate spiked and I thought I was about to be forced into a van or worse, the sound of heavy tires crunching gravel filled the street, and out of nowhere 2 matte black armored trucks rolled up behind them with flashing lights cutting through the morning sun, doors swinging open as men in full tactical gear with real SWAT stenciled across their bulletproof vests poured out, rifles raised but disciplined, moving like shadows trained for precision, and the HOA impostors froze mid-step, their confidence evaporating as the booming command echoed, "Drop your weapons, hands where we can see them." And I'll never forget the look on their faces, the way the leader's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air, because in less than 3 seconds their fake authority crumbled under the weight of the real deal. But instead of instantly surrendering, the scarred one made a stupid decision, reaching inside his vest, and in a blur SWAT had him pinned face down on my lawn with a knee in his back, the others dropping their fake badges and raising trembling hands, and I just stood frozen in the doorway, still holding my half-cold coffee mug, trying to process how my quiet morning had turned into a live-action crime drama. And as the SWAT commander approached me he asked calmly if I was safe, if I knew these men, and I shook my head no. Words stuck in my throat, and that's when the truth began unraveling in a way that was more twisted than I ever could have imagined, because according to the SWAT team, these weren't just random imposters, they were part of a growing organized ring targeting homeowners by pretending to be HOA enforcers, using intimidation to scam people into handing over cash or even abducting them to demand ransom. And my address had been flagged from a previous data breach, meaning they thought I'd be an easy mark. But what they didn't know was that a federal task force had been tracking them for months, and my house had been under quiet surveillance since last week, which explained why the SWAT trucks appeared at the perfect moment. Though hearing that didn't calm my nerves, it only raised new questions like how much of my personal information had been leaked, why my name ended up on their list, and whether this nightmare was really over. And as the fakes were cuffed and hauled into the trucks, neighbors started creeping out of their houses, phones up, recording, whispering, turning my front yard into a spectacle, and I could already imagine the videos hitting local Facebook groups, captions like, "Drama on Oakwood Street," or, "SWAT raid next door." But the craziest part was still ahead, because while the imposters were being questioned, one of them shouted something that made the hairs on my neck stand up, yelling, "You don't know who you're dealing with. This goes higher than you think." Before being shoved into the vehicle, and the SWAT commander gave me a look that confirmed this wasn't just bluster. There was something bigger in play, a network maybe, a puppet master pulling strings, and he warned me to stay alert, to double-check locks, to change passwords, to call immediately if I noticed anything strange. And even though the sun was still shining and the birds still chirping, my street no longer felt safe. My home no longer felt like a fortress, because once you've had fake cops at your door and real SWAT saving your skin, you realize the line between ordinary life and chaos is thinner than anyone wants to admit. And over the next few days, reporters tried to contact me, neighbors stopped me on walks, strangers messaged me online asking for details, but I kept it vague, partly because of shock and partly because the SWAT team had advised me not to share too much. And yet the story spread anyway, morphing into rumors, exaggerations, people claiming the fake HOA cops were cartel members, others insisting it was all staged for a viral video. But I knew the truth. I lived it. I smelled the sweat of those imposters. I heard the snap of zip ties before SWAT intervened, and I'll never forget the feeling of seeing armored trucks materialize like guardian angels, shifting the balance of power in an instant. And even now, as I sit here writing this, replaying every second, I can't shake the thought that this isn't finished, because criminals that bold don't just vanish with a single raid. They regroup, they retaliate, and maybe, just maybe, one day soon I'll hear another knock at my door, and next time, I might not be so lucky. So if you want to know what happens when the next chapter of this insane story unfolds, make sure you stick around, subscribe, and keep watching, because trust me, things are only going to get wilder from here.